In the last episode of Vermont Media versus Trump and Anti-Immigration, we looked at how undocumented immigrants' lives in the state of Vermont began to change in 2016, and the local media continued to cover this story as it evolved and unfolded.
But as we stand up and fight for our rights, we are hunted down and targeted by ICE, and that's why we are here today to stand up for our rights and file this lawsuit against ICE and the Vermont Department of Motor Vehicles.
That was a member of Migrant Justice, an organization that protects the rights of immigrants in Vermont. He was talking about an instance in which an informant from the federal government infiltrated their group and used DMV records to arrest 20 members who were migrant workers. This, as members of the group claim, was unlawful, and it led to a civil lawsuit as many members of the group protested in the streets of Burlington to gain support.
Today, members marched from the Migrant Justice office up to Church Street to the federal courthouse in Burlington, where leaders hand-delivered the lawsuit.
During the protest, members of Migrant Justice announced that in the past 2 years before the march, that 40 members of their group had been arrested and that all Vermonters must stand up for the rights of members of this community.
We end today's show with a major new federal lawsuit claiming that immigration agents are targeting undocumented organizers for their activism in Vermont. The suit claims Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Vermont Department of Motor Vehicles carried out a multi-year campaign of political retaliation against members of the group Migrant Justice. According to the lawsuit, Migrant Justice was infiltrated by an informant, and its members were repeatedly subjected to electronic surveillance.
When asked to comment about this, neither ICE nor the federal government took any accountability to these actions. And in all the sources I could find, ICE either replied saying no comment or that none of their actions taken were unconstitutional. This report from DemocracyNow, along with other NBC local reports, are evidently more so in favor of migrant justice and other immigrant groups, showing that the media is not afraid to back down from a fight. However, this is because these issues affect Vermonters more on an individual level. According to Ballotpedia, in 2014, less than 2% of Vermont residents were non-American citizens. However, of that sub 2%, over 12% of them lived under the poverty line, compared to only 7.8% of native-born U.S. citizens in the state.
Most immigrants in Vermont live in isolation on rural farms with no access to public transportation, and many were spending years at a time on those farms without ever stepping foot off because of lack of access to transportation.
This considerable discrepancy shows the hardships and inequality faced by minorities in the state. However, Latin American farm workers aren't the only immigrants living in Vermont. In the next episode, we'll look at Syrian refugees and how their lives have been greatly affected over the last 4 years as well.